Perfect.
That's perfect. Yeah.
We should be
And
going
we are
live.
live.
Okay. We'll bring this meeting around. It's 7 p.m. Would someone come from council be willing to read the acknowledgement?
Sure. We acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory, a traditional meeting grounds, gathering place, and traveling route to the Crees, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, and Nakota Sioux. We acknowledge all the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries.
Thank you, Councillor Wayne. So we'll call this meeting to order. Is there any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda?
Nothing from administration, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Is there anything from council? Okay, I would look for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented then.
I can bring that forward.
Thanks, Councillor Pat.
I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Any opposition to that motion? And the motion's carried. We'll move on to delegations. We have none this evening. We need a motion to adopt the minutes of December 2nd regular meeting of council.
Yeah, I'll move that we adopt the minutes of, okay.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Dan.
Oh, yeah, I move that we adopt the minutes of December 2nd, 2020 regular meeting of council.
Great. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion? Okay, is there any opposition to the motion? And the motion's carried. So we move on to council priorities, 7.1 information request. We'll start over on the ladies' side here. Councillor Judy.
I have nothing.
Okay, Councillor Pat.
Just checking in on the oval at the gazebo. It's been flooded and everything, ready to go.
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lee, yeah, it was being used last night.
Excellent. Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's great. There's been some positive feedback on Facebook on the outdoor arena and on the gazebo there. It was very nice. Moving on to Councillor George.
Just a little bit on safety. Maybe we could step up our sanding up our intersections and our parking lot out here in front.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor George. Councillor Wayne.
Just one thing minor. We have the sand buckets throughout town. Is it possible to move one just so it doesn't get hit anymore? I think it looks like it may have been pushed over once. Just because it's in a location that isn't, I don't know, vehicles could hit it, I guess, on 52nd Ave and 53rd Street. There used to be like a boulevard there or pillars there that the sand box was next to, but those no longer. But I think they cut it sharp, they're going to hit it. So we can just move it to the other side of the alley, on the other side of the walkway.
Thank you, Councillor Wayne. Anything else?
No, that's everything.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Dan.
Nothing for me today. Thank you.
Okay, and Councillor Len.
Sherry, his mic's muted.
Nothing at this time.
Oh, he got
Okay.
it.
And while your mic is still unmuted, Councillor Len, do you have any program requests?
Nothing at this time.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Dan, any program requests?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Wayne.
Nothing at this time, thanks.
And Councillor George.
No request to this one.
Okay, and Councillor Pat.
Not right now, thanks.
Okay, and Councillor Judy.
Nothing at this time, thanks.
Okay, thank you. So moving on to request for decisions, we're on to 8.1 fees and charges bylaw 18-2020.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report is to present the 2021 fees and charges council for consideration. The town council gives second reading to bylaw 18-2020, a bylaw to impose the fees and charges for 2021. The town council also considered third reading to bylaw 18-2020, a bylaw to impose the fees and charges for 2021. User fees are a critical element of municipalities' revenue source. Together with government transfers and property taxation, they represent a portion of the town's revenue stream. The fees and charges bylaw establishes rates, fees, and charges payable for municipal services provided by the town. Administration reviews the fees and charges annually. With challenging times experienced with the pandemic, the 2020 revenues were considerably lower than expected. There were also administrative updates completed to enhance transparency and reflect current operational practices. The first reading of the bylaw was presented on December 2nd, 2020. Administration made changes and administrative edits based on feedback from the presentation. Strategic plan areas, the fees and charges bylaw ensures that not only the residents of the town, but customers of the town are also contributing to the cost to provide town services. Continue to develop and plan for future needs of the community. Continue to enhance and create new relationships with service groups by offering reduced rates for town services to nonprofit organizations. Ensure the community is aware of the fees and charges for services offered by the town. Legislative and legal impacts. MGA Chapter M26, Section 8, powers under bylaws allows council to pass a bylaw for the establishment and collection of fees for services provided by the town. This past year, administration focused on reviews of our policies, bylaws, and our website. It became apparent that the current fees and charges Schedule A document was confusing and bring interpretation differently by those viewing the information. The fees and charges Schedule A was revamped to align the charges with the department that they relate to clarify for staff, residents, and developers, those charges that require GST added to the amount and those that do not require a GST, to align the charges with actual costs where needed, to add quantitative criteria, add a column for bylaw amendment dates as needed, and to realign the planning and development charges with our land use bylaw and Alberta government permitting processes. The fees and charges will come into effect on January 1st, 2021. And Mr. Mayor, did you want me to go through the changes that we've done since council last reviewed?
I think that would be highly helpful. Thank you.
So if council, I'm going to try to share this.
We have the capability.
Yeah, we hope we do. So if we go to page 5.
Yeah, that's very easily to see. Thanks.
Page 5, we added mutual aid here under snow clearing as well as emergent. Before it just said emergent, we've added the mutual aid so that if somebody is in need of our services on short notice, we're able to provide that to our neighbors. Page 6, we added in this whole section here, size of meters. Just to clarify that it obviously costs more the bigger the meter. We want to clarify that it's obviously more of a cost to the town to buy and purchase and install that meter.
Great.
We added the word labor here at meter installation, just to clarify that this is for the labor, this is for the actual cost of the meter. On page 7, we moved this section here, the after hours disconnect. It used to be on the other presentation under sewer, and it's actually related to water, so we just moved it up a few lines under water. Under waste, this was said before additional waste cart, and we've changed this to recycling to reflect what kind of cart it is so that residents don't get confused. On page 11, we added per unit here. That wasn't before, it just said per day per week. We've added per unit per day for clarity. And we've also added weekend rate for the ball diamonds and the egg grounds and a per day rental rate, and clarified what a weekend is defined as and what a day is defined as. And page 13, whoops, we added per unit per day for the overflow camping at the Carol Mushmire Arena. And on page 15, we changed these two costs here to 100 from 80 and 175 from 158. That was an administrative error on the last report. So this is the same as what we're charging in 2020.
Okay.
And that was all the changes that we made since council last reviewed fees and charges.
Any
And that
questions
was based on comments from council.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Any questions or comments from council before we move forward with this?
I have just one, it may be nothing, but on effective date, do you need to have, do you want the year there as well, or does that matter? It just says January 1st for, does that really matter or no?
So Mr. Mayor, that's a great question. So on the very front page here, it says 2021 user fees and charges. So
Yep.
If we do an amendment, it would be below here, the bylaw, and then that it would change here. But everything is
that-
assumed because they're the 2021 fees and charges that this is, right?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, or concerns from council? I just had one thought. Very good. Captured everything I think that council was looking for. Just wondering on the gazebo, when we're saying there's a charge for a private function, how do residents know that they actually have to register with the town office to use it for a private function? Because I'm just wondering if residents just figure it's open all the time. We can just do, how do we advertise that?
So, Mr. Mayor, the gazebo is absolutely 100% open for public use at any time.
Yep.
We often get contacted if people can book it for a wedding so that they don't want it open to public, and also gives us the opportunity to clean it. But yeah, we'll put something out on the website, but people do not have to pay to use it. It's
Yep.
just if you want to close it to public, that they would have to do that. And often people close for weddings generally.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's a nice venue for that. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Is there anything else that we need to go through before we put this to a vote then? Just leaving that opportunity out there for council. Have to look around my monitor. There we go. Okay, so looking for a motion then for the second reading for the fees
Make
and
that
charges.
motion.
Thank you, Councillor George.
I make a motion that the town council give second reading to bylaw 18/2020, a bylaw to impose a fee and fees and charges for 2021.
Thank you for that, Councillor George. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? The only thing that I wanted to highlight, again, maybe just for the sake of the residents that may be listening in to this, can we go over again about the water fees changes that people that don't use as much water should be charged less? Just wanted to clarify that so people understand the change there, because I think some residents may be concerned that they're thinking they're going to have to pay a lot more for water now.
So absolutely, Mr. Mayor. So the fees and charges for utilities, wastewater, and refuse and recycling have now been changed to a user pay system. So if you use more water, you pay for more water, just like your electrical and gas utility bills. So people that typically, if you're a single person household, you'll see a reduction of about $20 to $25 in your monthly bill. If you're typically using more than 11 or 12 cubic meters, maybe a family perhaps, you will see an increase in your bill based on your present consumption. But the really good news is that we are going to be reading the meters every month. So somebody so there was always a flat fee, so everybody paid the same every month. And then the following month when we did an actual, some people would see almost double what their previous month was based on consumption, right? So this should level off the billing for people that are budgeting. So even though it might look like you're using 35 cubes the following month, it might be that 14 was what everybody was paying every month. And so actually you're probably only using 35, 50, so you're using 25 each month, if that makes sense. So the off months that you weren't actually getting a meter read, you were only paying 14. So it'll be a lot better for budgeting, and it will encourage people to use less. And the increase to the sewer rates will be reflective of the amount of water that you use instead of a flat fee as well. So yeah, so if the average home uses about 10 or 11, they'll see little to no difference in the utility bill.
Great, thank you for that clarification. Any other comments or questions before I put this to a vote? Okay, is anyone opposed to this motion? Okay, haven't heard none. The motion is carried. Now we're looking for the motion for the third reading of this bylaw. Councillor Judy.
The town council give third and final reading to bylaw 18/2020, a bylaw to impose fees and charges for 2021.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion?
I'd just like to
Councillor
say that administration have done a really good job on setting this up and making it so clear for when an individual looks at it, they can see the line, know exactly what, instead of reading through and trying to figure out. It's really good. This is how you have it set up. Thank you.
Yep. I would echo that comment. Thank you, Councillor Pat. Any other comments, questions, or concerns before I bring this to a vote? Okay, is anyone opposed to the motion for the third reading to bylaw 18-2020? And that motion is carried. So we move on to number 8.2, budgets, Town of Bruderheim interim operating and capital budget.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is to respectfully request the council approve an interim operating and capital budget for 2021 to allow for the day-to-day operations to continue uninterrupted until council approves the 2021 final operating and capital budget in May of 2021. Recommend that town council accept the report for information and approve the 2021 interim operating budget as presented. The town council approve the 2021 capital budget as presented. Council history, the 2021 interim budget and 2021 capital budget were previously presented to council on November 18th. In the proposed 2021 interim operating budget, taxation revenue has increased by 1.22% over the 2020 operating budget. 2021 interim operating budget total revenue is $3,711,402. The 2021 interim operating budget total expenses is $3,723,373, leaving a difference of $11,971 that needs to be made up with a 1.22% tax increase. Amortization expense is $457,304. And again, the difference of the $11,971 is 1.2% to balance, 1.22% to balance the budget. The total of the 2021 capital budget is $181,300. The capital budget is funded from MSI capital of $44,000, reserves of $0, non-MSI grants of $107,300, and donations of $30,000. And Mr. Mayor, there was administrative error on the report that said $107,300. That should have been $181,300. Didn't change the budget. It was just the report that it was incorrect. Strategic plan areas. A balanced budget ensures residents continue to provide municipal services, that the interim operating budget authorizes administration to continue with the expenses associated with delivery of services until the final operating budget is approved in 2021. A healthy, vibrant community is continuance of current service levels in the community. And we will do by doing public presentations of interim operating and capital budgets allows for public viewing. Other impacts, legislative and legal. Pursuant to section 242 of the MGA, council must adopt an operating budget for the calendar year. Mr. Mayor, did you want me to go through some of the changes I've made since the last budget?
Throw that out to council. Would you prefer to see the, yes, I think folks are looking to see that. And Councillor Len, you have your hand up?
Well, we went through it all last week. Why would we go through it again?
So the look for consensus from council. Would from council be wanting to hear what those changes are, or are we good with the way it is?
I think our administration and finance department did an excellent job. Thought it through. I think looking forward, I think Patty is on the right track. I think with we've already reviewed it, like Mr. Councillor Falardo said. Let's put it to motion.
Okay. What about the rest of council? Councillor Pat?
I think that we've gone through pretty thoroughly, and it is an interim budget. It's not in stone, so it definitely can be tweaked, and the rest of it is as time unfolds and we see what we have to do. However, I think that it's pretty good, and lots of work has already gone on into it, and I'm fine with it right now.
Councillor Wayne and then Councillor Judy.
Were there any major changes since last time?
Mr. Mayor to Council Echo, I think probably the biggest change is the removal of the economic development contracted services. That would be the largest change for council. And deferring the HVAC upgrade in the administrative office.
So just those two things are taken out? That was.
Well, there was a few things, but those were the two larger items for sure.
Okay, and Councillor Judy.
Yeah, I read through every line item and seeing what Patty changed, and as long as we don't lose the furnace in the admin building, I think we'll be fine.
Okay, and Councillor Dan.
Just again, clarification, that was that email that you sent out on this last night? 2 nights ago?
2 nights ago, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, because I got it right here. I got it printed out. I do have one quick question if we're at that point.
Go ahead.
My math isn't adding up. So 1.22% of 300 or $3.7 million doesn't add up to $11,971. I guess I'm kind of at a loss as to why isn't that working out? It's working out to more like 45,279 at 1.22%.
So, Mr. Mayor, it's the difference between the revenue and expenses of $11,971, which is about 1.22%. So about $10,000 is a 1% tax increase in Bruderheim.
Over and above. The budget.
Okay. So
It's the difference that you need to look at, not at the total.
gotcha. Okay.
So the objective of the budget is to balance, so your revenues and your expenses. And when you don't
Yeah, so
balance,
it would just be 1.22% of the revenues, not the overall budget.
it's more of the expenses actually that we're
Yeah.
over on. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, I got a little confused. Yes.
Yeah.
The expensive. Okay, cool.
Okay,
Thank you.
Councillor Judy.
So considering that on the market out there, properties are ranging from an appraisal perspective, anywhere from 1 to 3.4% going down. A 1.22, I think, is pretty cautious. Not cautious, maybe optimistic. We'll probably have to look at it in the spring again when things change, but markets have gone down, which is going to be how they assess things. So it'll be interesting for sure.
Absolutely. Any other comments or questions from council?
Just one quick question. Economic development. You said you took that out, right?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecco, that's correct.
So in here, it says interim budget. It shows it's still in here. On page number 2, I guess. It says economic development for $50,496.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecco, actually, some of the wages of staff is charged out to economic development.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
As well as advertising and other items like that go into economic development.
Okay. So you're just talking about the actual person.
Contracted
We're no longer-
services.
Okay.
Contracted
Okay.
services.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I just wanted to make one comment, and like had been mentioned by Councillor Pat, this is not set in stone. This is just the interim budget. Once we get to the final budget, I would personally myself, difficult years for folks during this COVID timeframe, I would be thinking that might be prudent to pull some money from reserves to make it a 0% increase, but I won't fight about it on this vote. But when we get to the final budget, that would be something that I might be looking for. So if there's no other comments, questions, or concerns, we'll bring it to a vote. Anyone opposed to this motion? And the motion's carried. Thank you. So we'll move on to, what are we at next? The amended capital budget 2020, which is 8.3.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, Councillor
Oh.
Pat.
Who brought forward that motion on the budgets?
I thought it was Councillor Judy. No? Oh, Councillor Judy did the third reading. Whoops, maybe I didn't get a motion. Thanks for catching that, Pat.
I'll give you the motion then, all right, Carol?
Yeah, right on. Thanks, Pat. I'm glad you caught that. Okay, so now we can have a vote. Is anyone opposed to that motion? And heard none, motion is carried. So we can move on to 8.3 now. Thanks, Pat.
Oh, hang on. Is
Yep.
there two motions there?
No.
Interim budget is just one motion. It's not a bylaw, so don't have a second and third reading.
But then we have the 2021 capital budget as presented.
Yeah, we need that motion.
Now we need a motion for the capital budget. That's what I was
I
looking
can
for.
carry on.
Yeah, no, we're doing
Okay,
capital
the
budget
total
next motion. Yeah, that's what I was asking for.
Yeah. Okay.
But
so
I
the
thought
two
maybe
motions.
Pat might want to do a preamble on the capital budget
Oh.
first.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
Go ahead, CAO Pat.
See if, Mr. Mayor, so the capital budget is as presented, except that you'll notice we pulled out the Public Works roof because it's actually going forward right now. And that was completely funded by the MSP. So we were able, they've already started. So you'll see it in the amended 2020 capital budget.
That
That's
was
the only
on
change
that was on the water building,
on the public workshop, Mr.
Oh.
Mayor.
on the shop. Okay, yeah. Right.
So
Okay.
the 2021 capital budget is completely funded between donations and grant funding.
Okay, any questions, Councillor Judy?
So I see on there, you put that playground you deleted, or did you move to operating?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Schuler, we had done that last time, and because our auditor had said that we don't own it, so it has to be operating.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
Because Elk Island Schools owns the playground, it's not our asset.
I see. Right. Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
We just get the joy of paying for it.
Okay.
And enjoy, and enjoy.
Any other questions before we get a motion for the capital budget? Someone be willing to make that motion?
Make that motion.
Councillor George?
I make a motion that town council approve the 2020 amended capital budget as presented.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, that's the 2021 capital
Yeah,
budget.
there's a typo there. It should be 21, yeah. Okay, any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion from council? Once again, as been mentioned before, I want to commend administration for getting us through difficult times and murky waters with finances and during COVID timeframe. So thank you very much to administration and our CAO for making this work for us. If there's no other comments or questions, call for a vote then. Anyone opposed to this motion for the 2021 capital budget? And the motion's carried. So now we're on to 8.4, council remuneration policy.
Mr. Mayor, we have to do 8.3, the 2020 amended capital budget.
Sorry, yep, okay.
I'll
8.3,
bring that.
2020, Councillor Pat.
Okay, I move the town council approve the 2020 amended capital budget as presented.
Thanks, Councillor Pat. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that one? Okay, call for a vote then. Anyone opposed to that motion? And the motion's carried. So 8.4, council remuneration policy. That's a tough one to say, remuneration.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Purpose of this report is to provide a guide for compensating Bruderheim elected officials for attending meetings and professional development opportunities, and to respond to the need to participate in virtual meetings during the COVID-19 pandemic. The town council approved the council remuneration policy as amended on December 16, 2020 to include virtual meetings. At the November 18, 2020 meeting of council, resolution was passed to direct administration to include reimbursement for council attending virtual meetings. At the December 2nd, 2020 meeting of town council, there was a request for administration to review Schedule A to include virtual meetings in town, out of town, and for training. Strategic area planning, communities the educated and responsibilities of council and administration. Policy, Town of Bruderheim will periodically review and evaluate all bylaws and policies to ensure they are timely, effective, and appropriate. Legislative and legal, Municipal Government Act RSA 2000, Chapter M26, Section 275.1. Interdepartmental Human Resources Financial Services. Summary, in order to allow municipalities to adhere to new restrictions related to COVID-19 pandemic, the province passed the meeting procedures regulation to modify the Municipal Government Act requirements for meetings in support of physical distancing recommendations from the Chief Medical Officer of Health. Council requests the administration review the council remuneration policy and incorporate virtual meetings in the revised policy. Administration revised the statement of purpose to include virtual platforms and included virtual meetings with Schedule A. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And would someone from council be willing to make that motion?
I can make that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Pat.
I move the town council approve the council remuneration policy as amended on December 16th, 2020 to include virtual meetings.
Thank you very much. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? So maybe just for the sake of the folks that are listening, we're not voting ourselves giant raises for doing virtual meetings. It's probably the opposite of that, I think. I just wanted to include virtual meetings. So if there's no other comments, questions, or concerns, call up for a vote then. Anyone opposed to that motion for the council remuneration policy? And the motion's carried. 8.5, bylaw 17-2020, bylaw to address procedural changes required as a result of the response to COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To seek council approval on second and third reading of bylaw 17-2020, a bylaw to address procedural changes required as a result of the response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The town council gives second reading to bylaw 17-2020, a bylaw that amends bylaw 11-2019 to address procedural changes required as a result of the response to COVID-19 pandemic. The town council give third reading to bylaw 17-2020, a bylaw that amends bylaw 11-2019 to address procedural changes required as a result of the response to COVID-19 pandemic. Council approved bylaw 11-2019, the meeting procedure bylaw on November 6, 2019. Council gave first reading to bylaw 17-2020, a bylaw that amends bylaw 11-2019 to address procedural changes required as a result of the response to the COVID-19 pandemic on December 2nd, 2020. Strategic plan areas, communities and educating on responsibilities and limitation of council and administration. Other impacts, legal and ledge, Municipal Government Act, Meeting Procedures Act, COVID-19 suppression regulation, and Municipal Government Act revised statutes of Alberta 2000, Chapter M26, Section 603, Ministerial Regulations. In order to allow municipalities to adhere to the new restrictions related to COVID-19 pandemic, the province passed the Meeting Procedure COVID-19 Suppression Regulation to modify the Municipal Government Act regulations for meetings in support of physical distancing recommendations from the Chief Medical Officer of Health. The regulation gives municipalities greater flexibility for conducting meetings and public hearings electronically. The proposed bylaw sets out temporary procedure provisions for public hearings, public presentations, and open house presentations. These procedures provide that these types of presentations will be made by electronic means. This is necessary in order to comply with the recommended public health measures aimed at reducing the spread of COVID-19. These new measures will be in place as long as COVID-19 related restrictions remain in force. This bylaw will be posted on the website and public hearing procedures will be advertised. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. That was a mouthful. Would someone from council be willing to make that motion?
I can do these ones.
Sure.
I think Deputy Mayor Dan had his hand or spoke first. Sorry.
I move the council gives second reading to bylaw 17-2020, a bylaw that amends bylaw 11-2019 to address procedural changes required as a result of the response to COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you for that. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? Okay, so hearing nothing, once again, thanks to administration for bringing this forward. Call for a vote then. Anyone opposed to the motion for the second reading for the COVID bylaw? Hearing none, the motion's carried. And now we're looking for a motion for the third reading.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll do that one as well.
I got Councillor
Okay.
Wayne on this one. Thanks, Deputy Mayor.
No worries.
The town council give third reading to bylaw 17-2020, a bylaw that amends bylaw 11-2019 to address procedural changes required as a result of the response to COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you for that. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? Everyone satisfied? Okay, we'll call for a vote then. Anyone opposed to that motion for the third reading? No one opposed, and the motion is carried. Thank you very much. 8.6 Metro Kalen Community Library Board 2021 budget.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Purpose of this report is to request that Town Council review the Metro Kelowna Community Library 2021 budget. The Town Council accept the Metro Kelowna Community Library 2021 budget as information. Council gave third reading to bylaw 02-2018, which outlines requirements for the operation of the Metro Kelowna Community Library on January 17, 2018. Strategic plan areas, communications with community groups and organizations to help build capacity for their programs and volunteers, and to engage citizens, community groups, and organizations to identify program needs. Public presentations for this budgets and others, council help with public input. Other impacts, Alberta Libraries Act, Chapter L11, one of the revised statutes of Alberta 2000, Municipal Government Act, Chapter M26, RSA 2000, Bylaw 01-2018, Established Municipal Library Board, Section 5, B-D outlines the requirements for budget preparation and follow processes. The Metro Kelowna Library provides services to residents with the community with some financial assistance from the town of Bruderheim. As per Bylaw 01-2018, the Chief Administrative Officer must review their budget annually, and Town Council reappoints the board members at their annual organizational meeting of council. The town of Bruderheim auditors complete the annual audit of their financials. Metro Clinic Community Library members will receive confirmation that the town council reviewed the budget as information. And that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Someone be willing to make the motion for the library budget?
I'll make the motion.
Councillor George,
Make a motion that town council accept the Metro Kalen Community Library 2021 budget as information.
thank you for that motion, Councillor George. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with this motion? Any thoughts? Okay, I just wanted to again thank the volunteers that make the Metro Kalen Community Library Board function. Very much appreciate the efforts of those folks and the work that they put into to make sure that we have a good library in our town. Thank you for those folks. So if there's no other comments, questions, or concerns, bring this to a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion for the library board budget? Hearing none, the motion is carried, and we move on to 8.7, Alberta Community Partnership Grant Application.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is to prevent council with information about the Alberta Community Partnership Grant application that administration would like to make application to. The town council directs administration to apply for the Alberta Community Partnership Grant for costs associated with the Stormwater Management Assessment Plan. The town works with a variety of agencies to gather supporting documentation for infrastructure needs and long-term planning for the town of Bruderheim growth. When grants become available, council can provide administration with guidance on the grants they wish to make application for. This grant requires partnership, and administration has contacted Lamont County for a letter of support. The town of Bruderheim has an excellent background of regional collaboration on capital and long-term planning projects. Strategic planning is an economic development strategy that is inclusive of business attraction and retention, ensuring that regional stormwater management continues to improve with regional development of business and industry, working with community partners to complete projects and new initiatives. A community is educated on responsibilities and limitation of council. Other impacts, legislative and legal, MJA Chapter M26, Section 262(1), services or activities that are funded by an agreement. Town council is being asked to consider making application for the Alberta Community Partnership Grant to cover costs associated with the assessment required for developing an intermunicipal stormwater management plan. This plan will provide critical information on issues related to overland drainage and flooding in the region and proactive stormwater management strategies for watersheds impacting municipalities. Council will receive updates on the grant application submission and any correspondence that is received from the government relating to this application. That's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that, CAO Pat. Before we entertain a motion, just wanted to mention that want to commend our CAO Pat for getting this in front of the Lamont County Council quickly, and to Lamont County Council's credit, they got it on their special meeting agenda this past week, and Councillor nearest, Councillor Woitis, made a special mention that he made that motion, and he let us know as soon as it was carried, which was unanimous by Lamont County Council. So we want to thank Lamont County Council very much for their support and willingness to partnership on this grant application. So someone be willing to make the motion for this ACP grant application?
I can make that motion.
Councillor Judy had her hand up first, sorry.
The town council directs administration to apply for the ACP Alberta Community Partnership Grant for costs associated with the Stormwater Management Assessment Plan.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, or concerns from our council with this motion? I think it's a great thing, and we're very happy to be able to apply for this, and thanks again to Lamont County for their support. So call for a vote then. Anyone opposed to the Alberta Community Partnership Grant application? And the motion's carried. Move on to 8.8, Public Works Equipment Disposal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is that town council approves the disposal of public works surplus equipment that is no longer used and has been replaced or does not meet a need as intended when purchased. Recommendation that town council approve the disposal of the following: a John Deere 1435 mower sweeper broom, a 2010 John Deere 1435 mower, and a John Deere 1435 snow blower attachment. Continuing with the scheduled equipment replacement program ensures that Public Works continuously has safe and reliable equipment to service the town's needs and minimize repair costs to older equipment. Town Council approved financial reserve policy FIN 091, which replaces revenue received from the sale of public works surplus equipment into financial reserves R4. Strategic plan areas, the maintenance of current and future infrastructure requires reliable and safe equipment that has low maintenance costs. Other impacts, vehicle and equipment disposal policy, Occupational Health and Safety Legislation Act and Code, SA 2017 C021. The disposal of the used equipment will help offset the purchase of new equipment. Information will be shared with the Director of Public Works to follow up. And that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for that. Would someone from council be willing to make that motion? We just need one motion for those 3 pieces of equipment, correct?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
I'd like to make that motion.
Deputy Mayor Dan,
I move that Town Council approves the disposal of the following: John Deere 1435 mower sweeper broom, 2010 John Deere 1435 mower, John Deere 1435 snow blower.
thank you for that motion, Deputy Mayor. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? Councillor Len.
Well, I'm just wondering, when was the last time these equipment was used? And are we in the need of purchasing new equipment soon as we dispose of this?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Falardo, in the 2021 capital budget, there's a mower replacing this mower. So it's one mower with 2 attachments.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor George.
Have we got attachments for this the equipment that we got presently available?
So Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Campbell, you're asking if the new one we're purchasing has attachments? Is that what you're asking?
But have we got equipment in place now?
So Mr. Mayor, we won't dispose of that until we receive our new one.
But we're not actually using this equipment right now. for
No,
anything.
Mr. Mayor, no.
Any other comments, questions, or concerns from council?
If we're not using this, how are we keeping our streets clean and sweeping us? We must have equipment then that we're using.
So Mr. Mayor, through Council Campbell, I believe the broom is too large for the sidewalks, so it's not used. I see that Mr. Tomashet's on. I'll let him address if I'm incorrect.
Go
He's
ahead.
shaking his head.
Mr. Mayor, thanks, Patty. Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Campbell, are you speaking in terms of the broom? Is that what we're,
Yes, the broom and the snow blower.
and the snow blower is not used anymore. We find that the blade is more effective and less wear and tear. The snow blower itself is old, and then we just replaced some bearings that were very costly, but there are some other mitigating factors that go with it. So rather than incur more repairs, we felt that it was time to get rid of it. The sweeper that Patty alluded to is the wrong application for what we use it. We have a bigger sweeper that we put on our skid steer for the trails, and the smaller broom that we're asking to be disposed of is right in between that magic mark that doesn't fit the sidewalk, but yet it's too small for the trails. So it goes out as a package.
Thank you.
So what we're ending up doing is having 2 pieces of equipment to do actually one job.
Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Campbell, I think yes. They're redundant equipment, so yes.
And Mr. Tomashat, so the piece that we're buying will fix that, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Did
Any
everybody hear that?
Yep. Any other questions for administration on this motion?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Councillor Pat.
Now this mower, is this the one with the orange? No, which one, it's not that one?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lee, all John Deeres are green. Learning
No,
opportunity.
No, the-
She was thinking of the broom.
no, they're
I was
all-
just seeing if you're awake. I will let
Councillor
Mr.
Campbell was going to jump all over that one. He knows green paint.
Yeah, no,
Yes, and it's damn expensive too.
yeah, no, I was just wondering those.
What are we
ones-
replacing this with?
Oh, sorry, Councillor George, Councillor Pat was speaking. Go ahead, Councillor Pat.
Because I realized, okay, when you're sweeping, you're losing the
Bristles.
Bristles.
Yes, thank you, thank you. That's just always gonna be how it's gonna be, right? No matter what kind of a sweeper you have, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Thank you, Councillor Pat. Councillor George?
What are we replacing this with? What brand name, or have we got anything in mind, or?
Mr. Tomashak?
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure thank you, Mr. Mayor, through the Councillor Campbell. If you look at the 2021 capital budget, you'll see that we have that listed in there for one of the items to be purchased. It's something that actually will be used year round, can be used year round with a new mower and a proper blade to attack some of the smaller sidewalks that we can't currently get with the current equipment that we have.
Still haven't answered my question. What brand are we buying?
Same tractor as what we bought, smaller version, the Coyote.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? I just wanted to inquire a little bit on the information at the front page. It mentions the OH&S Act. Is this equipment unsafe to use? Is that the reference to the OH&S Act on the front, or?
Mr. Mayor, yes, Mr. Mayor, that's correct. So the proper maintenance and replacement of equipment is part of the OH&S Act.
Okay, yeah.
So this is scheduled capital replacements. As you know, you guys passed the 5-year capital plan, and during the 5 years, we schedule replacement of our equipment.
Yep, I just wanted to know if it was unsafe to use. That's maybe why we were getting rid of it, but that's not it. So thank you. Any other comments or questions?
I just got a comment.
Deputy Mayor Dan, and then Councillor George.
Oh, go ahead, George. Go ahead.
I gotta make a comment. If you can get 10 years out of a mower cutting grass in this town, you did real well. Kudos to the Public Works Department.
Thank you, Councillor George. Deputy Mayor Dan.
All I was going to say is, considering we're on Facebook Live, this stuff is all fantastic. It's in great order. Like whoever buys it, you're getting a really, really good deal. And whatever they said that's negative, like just don't listen to them. Trust me. I know this stuff's good. It's good stuff.
Dennis has looked after it very well.
Yeah, it's not unsafe like they say it is. It's really good.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor through Deputy Mayors, because yeah, we get rid of equipment before it becomes it becomes unsafe. So it is a great operating condition right now.
Thank you for that.
And Bruderheim's just a weird size, so that's why it doesn't fit. We're just a weird size. That's all. It's nothing to do with anything else. We got weird sidewalks. I don't know.
Non-standard.
I think that broom was too big in the first place. If I'm not
European sized sidewalks. It's Bruderheim, right? German. Forget about it.
Thanks for that, Deputy Mayor Dan. Always good to laugh a little bit. Any other comments, questions, or concerns from council? Call for a vote then. Anyone opposed to the motion for the Public Works equipment dispersal? And hearing none, the motion's carried, and move on to 8.9, appointment of returning officer for municipal election 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Purpose of this report is to seek town council approval of the appointment of a returning officer for the 2021 municipal election set for October 18, 2021. The town council approved the appointment of Sherry Cote, Director of Planning and Legislative Services, as returning officer for the October 18, 2021 municipal elections. In previous years, the returning officer was appointed in June or July of the year of the municipal election. Amendments passed in July 2020 under Bill 29, the Local Authorities Election Amendment Act, saw many changes made to the Local Authorities Election Act. One of the changes included in the amendment was a change to the date when nominations can be submitted. The returning officer is appointed in December 2020, so the nominations for municipal election can be received between January 1st, 2021 and September 20th, 2021. Legislative impacts: the Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, Chapter M26, Local Authorities Act, RSA 2000, CL 21. The returning officer responsible for conducting the municipal election and ensuring that all requirements are adhered to. Additional appointments for election support will occur in the summer of 2021. Municipal election information will be posted on the Town of Bruderheim website commencing January 1st, 2020. The returning officer is responsible for ensuring that the election regulations are adhered to and timelines are established.
Thank you for that. And the reason we're doing this early is because of the province changes in legislation that's mandating it's done earlier now, right?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Someone be willing to make the motion for the appointment of returning officer?
I can.
Thank you, Councillor Pat.
I move that town council approve the appointment of Sherry Cote, Director of Planning and Legislative Services, as returning officer for the October 18th, 2021 municipal election.
Thank you for that motion. Do you accept, Sherry? So any comments, questions, or concerns from council with appointment of returning officer for municipal election? Hearing none. Thanks again for doing such a great job, Sherry, for our community. Call for a vote. Anyone opposed to the motion for the appointment of returning officer? Hearing none, and the motion's carried, and we move on to 9.1, council committee reports. So we're looking for a motion for council committee reports as information to receive. Thank you,
Sure.
Councillor Judy.
I make a motion that council receive the council committee reports as information.
Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? Okay, call for a vote then. Anyone opposed to that motion for the council committee reports? Hearing none, the motion's carried, and we move on to mayor report. Would someone be willing to make a motion to receive the mayor report as information? Councillor Wayne.
Council received the mayor report as information.
Thank you for that, Councillor Wayne. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? I just wanted to highlight one thing that I heard about that I was part of an information session yesterday. Shell Scotford is looking at making another Quest project, or similar to Quest, a carbon capture and storage project. It would be called Polaris, and they're in engineering right now. The construction, they sounded like they're going to be in 2023. You know, they would be building a pipeline from Shell Scotford, taking CO2 from the refinery and putting it down a well in the area by just north of Josephburg. And so there'll be lots of public meetings coming up, but that was the first I had heard about that Polaris project. And that building off of the success of the Quest project, they're looking to move towards carbon neutral, and that's part of that. So I just wanted to make council aware that I'm not sure if that one was on my report. So if there's no other comments or questions with the mayor report, call for a vote then. Anyone opposed to the motion for the mayor report as information? Hearing none, the motion's carried. CIO report. Would someone be willing to make a motion to receive their CAO report as information?
I'll make that motion.
Councillor George.
I'll make a motion that we receive the CAO report as information as presented.
Thank you for that, Councillor George. Any comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? Councillor Wayne has his hand up, and then I think Councillor Dan, did you have any? Or Deputy Mayor, no. Go ahead, Councillor Wayne.
I'm just wondering if you can kind of give an update as to what the plans are or would be if the arena stays closed past December 31st. Is there some plans to let people know where things are going?
Mr. Mayor, through Councillor Lecco, I was actually on a call with the Premier and Dr. Hinshaw last night, and they are looking at whether or not, like right now, all rec facilities arenas are closed. There's no opening them at all. They are looking at individual coaching again and family units, renting swimming pools, rec facilities. And we're waiting to hear, but right now, till January 12th, the arena is closed. And so they are encouraged saying to us that January 12th is just a check-in date. And so I guess council's going to have to make some hard decisions in January. My suggestion is we just leave it right now and then wait for that. It might not go till January 12th. As you know, this time the Alberta government has announced new measures before the original scheduled date of December 15th, I think the original. So we'll stay on top of it, and but council will have to make a decision. As you know, we generally close in March, and it is anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000 a month to keep the arena with ice, with no revenue. That's something for council to consider. But the goal right now is just to keep the ice in until we hear from the provincial government in January. And if they release prior to that, that people can rent it, we'll definitely communicate that to public. But it would
So
be
after-
for family households, right? It would only be for people in your household and or private coaching one-on-one.
Up to the 12th of January, is that correct?
But
And
right
then-
now, we're still closed until we
Yeah.
hear anything else. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're hoping that they're gonna say something prior to that.
So hopefully within the first week or two of January, we'll have some more information to whether we stay open
Yeah.
or where we go. Okay.
Yeah, our first meeting is January 6th, meeting of council. I think, yeah. And we'll definitely have an update. And if something comes before that, we can also call a meeting too as well. Right now, it's status quo, everything's closed.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Wayne. Any other comments, questions, or concerns with the CAO report from council? Hearing no other ones, I just wanted to mention that want to give a big thumbs up to our administration and CAO for helping with the effort with Christmas hampers and presents for kids, and it was very much appreciated. Lots of work went in to that in behind the scenes, and thank you for that. I also want a big thank you to the Santa that visited Bruderheim businesses. Special mention to CAO Pat for lining up that special Santa for us. Great job. He was really funny and he did a great job. Thank you for that. Any other comments, questions, or concerns before I call the CAO report to a vote? Okay, haven't heard none. Is anyone opposed to the motion for the CAO report? Hearing none, the motion's carried. Move on to 9.4 Lamont County Emergency Services.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're asking that council receive the November 2020 Lamont County Emergency Service Update as information.
Okay, looking for a motion to receive that as information.
I can bring that
Councillor
forward.
Pat,
I move that council receive the November 2020 Lamont County Emergency Service Update as information.
thank you, Councillor Pat. Any comments, questions, thoughts from council with this report? Off the top, I just wanted to say it's great to see this report. Look forward to that information every month. So it's nice to have a feel for what's going on. Thanks to District Fire Chief Leslie Clark for making this up. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns with this report from council? Okay, here. Oh, Councillor Judy. Sorry, you're on mute, Councillor Judy.
My apologies, sorry.
No worries.
So I'm looking at this report and it says Bruderheim Station took delivery of a new water tender in November. What's that? Do we know?
It's a truck, water truck.
It's a water truck? Oh.
Yep.
Maybe they called it a tender. Okay, interesting.
Good question, though. Any other comments, questions, or concerns from council with that motion? No, bring it to a vote then. Anyone opposed to the motion for Lamont County Emergency Services report? Hearing none, the motion's carried. We'll move on to number 10, correspondence and information items. Got a number of things to go through here. So we got some correspondence. We got a Christmas card. This is from our MLA, Jackie Homenuk, wishing you health and happiness and harmony and all the best in 2021. We got a card here from, just make sure you can see it. It's from Shannon Stubbs, our MP. And it says, with warmest wishes for a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Shannon Stubbs. And we got a couple of more here. May the blessings of the Christ child be yours in this Christmas and throughout 2021. This is from Lamont Healthcare Center Board. Can anybody see this? There we go. Okay. And then we got this from the Board of Directors, Management Staff, Lamont County Housing Foundation, a Christmas prayer. And is it showing up? It doesn't look like I can make it show up for some reason, but it's just may God bless you this season and throughout 2021. And we also got a season's greetings from the Inspection Group, Inc. We could not have made it through 2020 without you. This holiday season is like unlike any other we have ever seen before. Thank you for continued support. And what's next? We've got a board highlights from Elk Island Public Schools. I don't know if everybody had a chance to see that. We got a priority summary from Elk Island Public Schools, and then we got an annual education summary. And this is annual education results report for 2019-20. So it's some interesting reading there. And I'll bring that back to the office so that everybody can have a look at it. And I also just wanted to report on a little bit for the John S. Patuque Water Commission. John S. Patuque Water Commission had a 6-cent cubic meter cost passed on from EPCOR. EPCOR sets the rates and it just flows downstream to everyone, unfortunately. And so there's 6 cents a liter coming from, sorry, not a liter, a cubic meter from the John S. Patuque Water Commission passed on from EPCOR. And that's all that I had for correspondence. Was there anything else at the mailbox at the office that I didn't get? No. Okay. We have a closed session, right? So we'd need a motion to end the public session for now. Deputy Mayor Dan.
Motion to end the public session.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion? Okay, call for a vote. Anyone opposed to that motion? And the motion's carried. So now we need a motion to go into the closed session. Deputy Mayor.
Make a motion that we go into closed session.
Thank you for that motion. Any comments, questions, or concerns with that motion for the closed session? Haven't heard none. Call for a vote.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Do we have to say why we're going into closed session before we go into
Do we
closed
need to
session?
read that information out from the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, you can, it's public. Yeah.
Yep, go ahead.
You want, okay, I can do it. We're going into closed session for Municipal Government Act RSA 2000 Chapter M26 FOIP F25. Wow, this is really, really stale.
Very
Section
specific.
17, harmful to personal privacy, the CAO review. And is that all I need to read?
I believe so,
is-
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that covers it. Thank you very much for reminding to read that out.
Awesome.
Okay, and anyone have any opposition to the motion? Haven't heard none. Call for a vote then. All those opposed to the motion? And the motion's carried. So now we are in the closed